Hello, everybody, and welcome to our weekly Tuesday comic review show. This is the day of the week where we get all the comics that are coming out tomorrow. We read them ahead of time, and we tell you guys in a fun, spoiler-free way what each one's about. We'll mention if there's first appearances or anything major, any reason to collect them if you're just kind of specking on books. But at the same time, we don't want to ruin it for people who want to read them
Yeah,
and get all the surprises. So welcome. I am Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of the lovely Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, Andy, we have a lot to go over this week.
There's a lot, and it's gonna be walking on eggshells, not spoiling some things. Some variant covers spoil some things, but we'll do our best to maintain the reader's joy in discovering stuff for themselves. So that is why we do the hard job.
Oh, yeah. All right, so why don't you go first?
First off, it's funny to start off with a number two. Usually we start off with a big number one.
This is a big one, though.
But it's a big one.
Yeah.
Joker number two. So I love Joker number one. I thought it was so readable. It's so easy to get into. This is, of course, by James Tynion and Gilliam March. If you're a fan of his Batman series, I mean, this just fits right in. It's hard to explain how well this just is a companion book to the main Batman title, especially since Joker War. And like the first one, issue 2 heavily focuses on Commissioner Gordon. If this could actually be titled, Gordon or something, I think it would be more apt of a title. But this is almost like, like Hannibal or something. It's naming it after the villain, but really the story we're following the detective trying to figure out about the villain. And in this one,
I almost feel like DC's marketing department was like, okay, we love everything about this James Tynion. What's the title? Gordon? No. Let's call it Joker.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone will read it and they'll see how good your ideas are.
Yeah, because so where the first one, Gordon was kind of at the edge of retirement, getting ready to hang up the old trench coat and everything and settle in. Yeah, in his very rough life. He's confronted with this woman, her bodyguard, that basically say, hey, we know that you have a personal connection with Joker, as in, paralyzed your daughter,
right?
Really messed up your son, really just has been the boogeyman in Gordon's life. And they say, we'll give you unlimited resources, give you whatever you need, all the travel, if you will hunt down and kill Joker. We know where he is. We've got photo evidence where he is. All you got to do is say yes and be on this plane. And issue 2 picks up in a very interesting place where we know Gordon was hesitant in the beginning. And this doesn't just jump right into it. This is Gordon kind of weighing the option of like, well, I've kind of sworn never, not that he would never kill, but this is Batman City. Batman hasn't killed him. Right. So Gordon actually in this goes to find Batman, and he definitely knows how to get a hold of him. The relationship in this between Gordon and Batman is really funny because it's so personable, but also like without the flamboyance of Batman when he comes and he like visits somebody that doesn't know him, where he's hiding in the shadows. This one, Gordon's like, come inside, Batman. I don't want to talk out here. So Batman just comes into his house and they just have a chat about this. And of course, Batman is not too thrilled with the idea of anyone going after Joker. He knows how dangerous Joker is.
Don't want to shake the hornet's nest.
Right, but this leads to a bunch of really interesting conversations about, why didn't you kill him? Gordon may not want to let on that last little bit of the contract where he's supposed to kill him. Because he knows at that point Batman would be like, no.
Yeah.
But there's some really shocking revelations in this. Stuff that Gordon knows. I'm sure if people have read online, you can find out kind of some of the stuff that that Gordon's been playing close to the chest too. Knowledge he knows and everything. But also, what's really interesting in this is it's revealed that whoever this person is that hired Gordon is not the only person coming after Joker. It's revealed like basically what happened on A Day
Right.
was kind of even for villains, like not cool. Like usually,
Way too far.
if a villain attacks a villain, it's because they're getting revenge or a vendetta or something against them. And this attack that Joker did was out of the blue. And so basically, all the groups that are surrounding all these other villains are like, nope, we're going to get Joker. So a lot of really interesting things are revealed, who's working for whom. And we'll see on one of the variant covers, there's a big first appearance in this.
Yep.
So big, I don't know if any company has ever, it's almost kind of like this recent Phoenix thing with Avengers, who's the next Phoenix. This is like a company being like, no, you need to look at this. Like, this is a big thing. So I'll show off the variant real quick.
It's on many news sites.
Yeah. So first off, we have the Stealth Freeze variant. Really cool reflection. If you see, it's a little bit different. I mean, one of the best covers in a long time. The Punchline Bermejo variant.
Cool, really creepy.
Mm-hmm. And this is, of course, in Joker, we get the backup story with Punchline.
Mm-hmm.
And with Punchline, she's still in jail, but you're kind of seeing what her plans are. And outside of jail, Harper Row, or Bluebird, is investigating who was Punchline before she was Punchline, and maybe that will reveal something about maybe how to stop her or just more information about her. But that is in the backup story that's also great. And then this is the big one. This is, we did not know we were getting this. It is a 1 in 50 variant that was not solicited, right?
No, not at all. This was a secret. They just revealed it way after us retailers were able to order. So if your shop didn't get this, don't get mad at them.
Yeah.
They had to have ordered that many, and we did. We like Joker, so we ordered a bunch.
Yes. So this is the Joker number 2 secret variant, 1 in 50.
With a secret character in it.
With a secret character on
might
here.
Have a first appearance in this book.
Yes, this is a seems like going to be a pretty big plot point going forward. If you kind of know what happened with Bane during A Day that was revealed in Infinite Frontier and Batman and all that, there may be a new Bane on the block. And this is it. So we are selling this to our customers for $250. This variant is blowing up everywhere because, I mean, no one knew it was coming.
Rare, yeah,
super rare. Really, really awesome cover. And we've got one of these available.
Okay, so the first comic I'm going to go over is a Marvel comic. It is Spider-Man, Spider Shadow. This is a 4-part series by Chip Zdarsky. Takes it all the way back to after the events of Secret Wars number 8. Spider-Man has his cool new black suit. But we all know what happens. He figures out that it's a symbiote, that it is not so good for him and turning him into a bad guy. Well, Zdarsky writes a what-if tale here about what if Peter Parker decided to keep it. So part of the story is a little bit of stuff that you've read before as far as, he's going around with the black suit, how it makes him feel, stronger, yet at the same time more tired, especially when he's not using it.
Yeah, because he doesn't remember, but he's like fighting crime in his sleep. And then he'll wake up and be like, why am I still exhausted?
Yeah, and he's doing it in a much more merciless way. The Venom symbiote, we know so much more about it after all its time with Flash Thompson and Eddie Brock and all these years of reading about it. We know that it's not nice to criminals or really anyone. It's only lately decided, hey, maybe I'll be, a crime fighter rather than I just like to kill people. So in this, Peter Parker, he decides to keep the suit even though it's messing with him, and it's making him more angry. It's making him just so much meaner to criminals. Well, what happens when his anger goes too far on a criminal, and that criminal takes it personal in a way you just don't see in comics. You know, a lot of criminals in these comics, they treat it like it's a game. You know, it's like a tit for tat. Well, he goes too far. So what happens when this villain does something to him, to Peter, so bad that the repercussions to him and the people he cares about, it pushes him over the edge. Will he be able to withhold his anger? Will he go back on his general vow not to kill? And if he is to kill, who is he then? Is he still Peter Parker Spider-Man? Or is he Venom? Or is he something altogether different? That's what gets explored in the series, and I'd say a lot of it gets explored in this very first issue. So by the end of the issue, some pretty major things have happened. That's my write-up on it. We got some variants here. The first variant is the fairy variant, where you see Spider-Man's mask has been infected. And then the next one is the Ron Lim variant. Marvel is throwing a lot of work at Ron Lim these days, I've noticed. And
we've got another variant coming up soon.
He's good too. I mean, he's still got it. He's still the master. We have 1 in 25 Chip Zdarsky variant available for our customers for, what is that, $30. So he doesn't just write, he also does the covers. Half and half suit there.
And what I think is interesting about it too, if you look on the covers, it actually has the new Marvel What If logo up in the top.
Really?
Right, yeah, up here.
I did not notice that. Well, look at that.
And we do know that Marvel is doing the What If TV show. And I think it's interesting that Marvel's now being like, because that was such a staple of the of kind of 70s Marvel comics, was this What If that really set a lot of characters and a lot of things that would go on to become canon came out of the What If series, like what if Jane Foster became Thor, all this stuff. I think this is really interesting. I'm really excited to see. I mean, they made a logo for it. What other what ifs are they going to do? I think it's high time that Marvel brings that back. And
it's a good testing ground where if somebody does a story that's cool enough, it's like, oh, okay, well, let's have that happen now.
Yeah, and I think it'll be cool. Like if the show we know it's going to do, like what if Peggy Carter became a super soldier, or what if Black Panther became Star-Lord, or whatever. Like the comics can explore those characters further than the shows can do it. So it may be a little back and forth trade. I would love if, maybe this gets turned into an episode at some point. I think Marvel is more than willing to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So next up, it's funny, another not number one, but feels like a number one. So this is Guardians of the Galaxy number 13. So I was reading Guardians of the Galaxy with like Donnie Cates' run. Of course, it tied in with everything Donnie Cates was doing. When he finished with his, Al Ewing took over with a new number one. It was kind of surprising. It's like, oh, they're already restarting it at a number one. I read a few issues here and there of it. It was good, but I kind of fell off of it. Well, this feels like a brand new jumping on point where it's kind of presenting the Guardians of the Galaxy as more of a superhero team, which I feel like is something we haven't seen before.
Right.
They've always kind of been swashbuckling,
kind of
ragtag, space, I don't know, outlaw type things. Well, this kind of presents them more as a pseudo Avengers team.
Right.
It's hard to explain because there's multiple teams in this. There's way more characters involved. They all have like kind of matching suits. I was about to start naming off characters, but it's kind of impossible to. So you've got one group that's like Wiccan and Hulkling that are dealing with one situation on a planet where these giant monster creature things are doing something to the Kree and the Skrulls and manipulating them. There's another group that's investigating this kind of missing like survey team on a planet. You can kind of tell they're all going to be tied together somehow. It's cool. It's overseen, like the guy in the chair or whatever is Super Skrull, where he's got all his long arms and his Ben Grimm fingers pressing buttons, which is really cool. But what I think is really neat about this is, for one, the tone. It's still sci-fi because you're dealing with a lot of aliens and everything, but it definitely catches you up to speed on what's been going on in the Guardians. And then for me, gave me characters that I have not read a lot of, like, Quasar. Haven't read a lot of him recently.
Yeah, he's just not been.
Mantis. There's all this stuff. I mean, you've probably seen the variant covers coming out for this, so you see there's like two more that have more groups of characters. But in the I'll say there's a big reveal at the end of the issue. It's not a super big reveal because one of the covers later kind of spoils it. But for what it means for the entire series, I think is really interesting. It's a really fun issue. I think if you haven't read Guardians in a long time, this will be a great place to jump on. Like, I haven't read Guardians since the Donnie Cates one. I think this there's characters have changed, especially like Star-Lord, who's been gone for a long time in some kind of other dimension, and he comes back. So his mood and his attitude and stuff is very different. But they kind of explain that to you. There's Quasar, which he now has the ability to do like this weird body switching thing. That's explained. So Al Ewing does a great job catching you up and being like, okay, now let's go forward from here. So I really enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to read the next one because I think having all these new characters and stuff is a lot of fun, especially a lot of these cosmic characters that haven't got screen time in a while.
Yeah, there's so many of them. They're either going to have to go up against someone really powerful or a very big army or something.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing right now, where one will be fighting over here, and they'll be talking to this other group that are a completely different planet, but they're like, okay, when we're done here, we'll send backup over to you. Everything, and I kind of feel like that might be how they're going with it. But the reveal at the end is really cool, and I'm excited to see what this character does in this situation. There are a few variants. So once again, Ron Lim getting the workout. You see with some more of our cast on the cover. And the kind of their matching suits there as well. This is the Pacheco, the Heroes Reborn variant, where
I'm looking forward to seeing this character in Heroes Reborn.
I really hope
the
they
group
do.
Gun does.
Yeah, I really hope that this is not just a variant cover and this character actually makes an appearance.
So I read the first Heroes Reborn, and although that character's not in it, it ends with things to come, and it shows that character with
awesome.
the group gun.
The group gun.
Yeah.
Such a fun idea. Of course, we have the Deadpool Nerdy 30 Liefeld variant with a giant old Groot in the background. And then finally, we have, this is the 1 in 25 Yoon variant that we are selling for $20. It's kind of got more of your classic team on there, which not all of your classic team is in this book,
No,
at least not
true.
yet, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But really cool.
Okay, so I know what you're thinking. You're thinking another Batman title. Well, with James Tynion, Marika Tamasi, the Joker book, which was also Tynion, how can I fit in another Batman title? And also, will it be worth it? Well, guess what? They put Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert on Batman the Detective. This is just a 6-issue miniseries, so it's not ongoing. And I have to tell you, the first one was fantastic. It is really, really, really good. So I know if you're suffering from Batman fever, just too much Batman in your life, I'm sorry. Suffer through it. It's worth it. So let me tell you about this book. It begins after Joker War. So this is not some what if. It's not outside continuity.
Huh.
It's after Joker War. I can't say where it is in relation to like Joker or the ongoing Batman, but Alfred is dead, and Batman just feels very disconnected from the Bat family. Feels very sort of alone, and like, has everything I've done for Gotham been worth it for all this like pain and problems, especially with Alfred being dead, which is such a damn shame. So he decides to take a mission in England that's going to make him leave Gotham. And when he leaves, he doesn't really want to come back. I
Mm.
mean, he get the sense he's like, I'm going away and I'm fine if I never come back.
Yeah.
So what is this mission? There's a plane that gets hijacked with some people, and the plane is purposely crashed with a bunch of people in it.
Mm-hmm.
They do not survive by this new group. Now, it's unclear if the group is named this. They're called Equilibrium,
Mm-hmm.
or if Equilibrium is the leader of the group. She's a female leader. Now, some sources are saying this is a first appearance of this female leader, and her name is Equilibrium. I didn't get that. I thought it was the group's name. And I'll also tell you, I did some detective work myself. That's as
Jason,
close as I
the
am to Batman.
detective,
That's as
yeah.
close as I am to Batman. And I think this new character is actually a past character who's taken up a new mantle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the most I could tell you about it. But they crash this plane. They all wear these white Batman cowls, and they blame Batman. They're literally like, this is happening over in England. They're like, hey, Gotham, yeah, Batman, we did this because of you. So Bruce has a good reason to leave. He has a personal reason. He's being called out. Where it goes from there, you'll have to read. I will say there is a new first appearance of a brand new Squire. If you guys know Knight and Squire
Mm-hmm.
from over in England, this new Squire seems really, really cool. There is Batman gets into a fist fight with a ghost. I kid you not. It all makes sense. It's not goofy. It's not like, wow, where are they pulling this from? It all makes sense. The fight with the ghost is really awesome. And the ending is particularly good because they explain why the group did what they did to the people on the plane and how those people are related to Batman. I wish I could spoil it. I can't. But when you read it, you're going to be like, oh man, that is so messed up. It's so interesting. I need to read issue number 2. Tom Taylor's just that good, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he's writing it, I'm on it. The last thing I'll say is the art is very reminiscent of The Dark Knight Returns.
Mm-hmm.
It is, Batman's not slim. He's hulking,
Mm-hmm.
but he's kind of old. He's thinking about how the people he's fighting about are younger and faster than him, and so he has to hit that much harder. That I remember that originally pulled me into Dark Knight Returns. I was like, this is so cool seeing Batman kind of change and not be like on his A game, having to use his mind. So that's the way Tom Taylor's writing it. That's the way it's being drawn. I recommend it. I think it is awesome. Here is the variant by Adam Kubert, who does the interiors. I mean, I don't know how I'd feel if this was another ongoing, but 6 issues, they got me.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, not to launch it as an ongoing, but like tell these short stories.
Here is it's called the blank variant, but really it has all the bats on there.
Someone needs a good lesson on what blank means.
Okay.
So this next book I'm going to talk about, this is going to be interesting how we're going to have to describe it. So this is Jenny Zero, number 1. This was originally intended to come out tomorrow.
Yeah.
But just as of
breaking news,
I mean, hour or so ago, maybe.
Yeah.
We were ordered to destroy all copies.
There's something wrung in it.
There's something wrong. I read it. I am not sure what the something wrong is. There's only one part that I could kind of maybe guess that they meant, but not enough to really throw me off the story or anything. But since, I mean, we've got it here, I was going to talk about it anyways. And this will be coming out hopefully pretty soon. They're supposed to send out replacement copies. So Jenny Zero is very interesting. It is definitely one of the books I thought was going one way, and then it took a turn. So this is kind of futuristic, not like super far future, but enough where they have some kind of weird technology. And this follows a character named, let's see, Jenny Tetsuo, which seemed really funny if you are a fan of Akira. Mm-hmm. And she is, I mean, she's written where you don't like her. She is a party animal, just abuses every substance known to man. You can kind of tell there's a reason behind this, but what she does have is she is the best at hunting monsters, like kaiju or whatever. They don't directly call them kaiju in this, but it's pretty obvious.
Right.
There's a lot of kaiju books out right now, so I'm kind of glad they avoided that word. But there is a organization called the Action Science Police that she has formerly worked for, and maybe has some familial ties to this organization as well. But you can tell at some point she got fed up with the organization, with her family, and she says, I'm done with this. I'm going to live my life. Well, something happens that, of course, as always does, pulls you back in. But she reluctantly does it. So this was pretty cool. This was pretty. The art's interesting. The story is good. The creatures are cool. But there's, I will say, a twist at the end of this that I didn't see coming. I feel like I kind of should have seen coming, but I think that takes the book in a very interesting direction that may explain that there's more to Jenny Zero than, or Jenny Tetsuo, or that maybe this organization knows that she doesn't even know about herself. So I do recommend this when it does come out. I'm not sure if we have a date now when this book is coming out in its completeness.
I think the date was May 5th,
Okay.
I believe.
So, but I think it's cool. This is fairly mature for all the things that make a book mature. But overall, I thought it was really fun, and I'm excited now whenever issue 2 comes out to check it out.
So even though we're not supposed to sell this because it is now an error issue, we consider our show to be more of a news informative show.
Right.
We just want people to know. So if you're out there and your store still has it or they want to sell it to you, more power to you. Error issues are often collectible, so I hear.
They have the ability to be, and pretty much based on how good the book is and its popularity, then of course, Walking Dead, all the weird error issues they've had throughout their run make them more valuable. But we'll see about this.
I'm interested in reading that one.
Mm-hmm.
The write-up sounded cool, and I like the cover. She's in her own pit of kaiju despair.
Yeah, it's hard to tell on here, but she's kind of surrounded by all of her vices.
And that doesn't have any
no variants.
Okay.
Dark Horse has kind of been doing that recently. They'll put out, I think your
keeping it simple.
That Five Beasts or whatever. Didn't have
Orphan the Five Beasts.
Orphan the Five Beasts didn't have one.
That's true.
I kind of commend them for that.
Yeah, that can be refreshing.
Yes.
Okay, so I read a new one from Aftershock called Phantom on the Scan. Not of the scan, but on the scan.
I've probably mispronounced that book.
This is by Cullen Bunn. I like Cullen Bunn's stuff. I really haven't read a lot of his stuff lately, though. He was coming out with 8 books at a time a few years back. So this book is interesting. Let me try to describe it. It is a horror book with, I'd say, a bit of a side of mystery. It involves a psychic. He's the guy on the cover who somewhat resembles Keanu Reeves, I think. Or maybe we all have Keanu Reeves on the brain after Berserker. But it begins with this guy. He is a psychic who has these vicious nightmares. Some real good art to these crazy nightmares where the more you look at it, the more you can kind of tell maybe what's happened in his life, but you can't quite. You have to sort of read the whole tale. He has this maybe friend or ally. It's like a ghost of a dead kid, but don't think Sixth Sense. It's not cute. It's like this shadow of this kid that's eroding and it's turning into nothing. And it's hard to tell if this thing torments him or helps him at first. By the end, you kind of learn that they're almost like partners in a way, as in, hey, go do this for me, and the kid can use his powers to do some messed up things, getting in people's heads.
Sounds like a video game.
Information and such, yeah. So what is going on is he knows that there is this force or this entity that is going after real psychics, like people who actually have psychic power. So he's trying to gather together this small group of real psychics and trying to warn them and trying to get ready for this battle. and let's just say they don't all believe him. It doesn't go real well to plan. I mean, it's a horror book after all.
Yeah.
So there is gore. This is not a PG rated book, but I thought it was pretty cool. It was very old school Vertigo reminiscent, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what Phantom on the Scan is about, at least thus far. There is a 1 in 15 variant that we're selling for $20.
That's a cool variant.
Yeah, so I talk about a force who's going after these psychic characters, and now I think I understand what is on the cover there with them.
So is it a miniseries? Can you tell?
I don't know. Like, I think it's ongoing, but there wasn't a lot of information on if it's ongoing or a miniseries.
Yeah, with places like Boom and Aftershock and stuff like that, they tend to be like, we do miniseries, and then we kind of evaluate at that point if these
it's
will
good
be
enough.
Yeah,
keep it going.
Right, which it's a strong business model.
Yeah.
So next up is another number 2, Batman Urban Legends number 2. I really enjoyed number 1, especially the Red Hood story in it by Chip Zdarsky. I think that it really is a very personal story for Red Hood. So if you don't know, Urban Legends has multiple stories per issue, but they're kind of all ongoing. It'll kind of alternate having maybe one story that's not. But the lead story in this is the Red Hood story. And it deals with Red Hood coming back to Gotham and kind of what his place is there now. He's back in Batman's domain.
Right.
That means no killing, no anything like that. And in the first one, he kind of slipped up, might have killed somebody, but
there's repercussions.
There's repercussions for that, and also, it just feels like this one has hit him harder than a lot of them for many reasons. He kind of goes over in this why, but I think what's also interesting is there was a kid that is involved in the situation that he's had to kind of take into his care to keep him safe and everything. And we know in the first one, the kid puts on Red Hood's mask. That kind of comes back in this. If it was just the one issue, I would say this kid is just kind of a tool to tell more of a Red Hood type story. But I could almost see this kid becoming something more.
Something's going to have to happen with the kid. I mean, that's one of the focal points of this is this kid is kind of on his own now for certain reasons, and Red Hood feels responsible. Where's that going? What do you do with a kid that you're responsible for?
Yeah, Red Hood's kind of taken on this weird older brother parental thing with this kid. But in this, he kind of confronts Batman on what's been going on. And I don't know, there's a lot of meat to this story. I think it's a really good way of redefining Nightwing going forward and where he's going to be. And how he's going to fit into the Bat family now that he's kind of an outcast, but still kind of on the call sheet. So it has the Red Hood story in it. Has there's a one-shot story about Barbara Gordon, who is now Oracle, which is a beautiful drawn story. Also, is funny because it shows her new mobile suit, which is kind of like a stylish tracksuit, and so it's a really cool one and kind of really sets the stage for what Oracle is to the family now and to the other Batgirls. There is, of course, a continuation of the Outsiders with Katana and Metamorpho and all those. But I think the other really strong story is the Grifter story.
Yeah, the Grifter
and
story.
Which is funny. Grifter was such just the 90s of comics rolled into a single character. But this does a lot with him that he's a really fun character, very kind of self-aware with his mask and everything. But it also introduces a new character in his story, which, could be a new big character going forward, because We do have Lucius Fox, that's now the who runs Wayne Enterprises, and he has a head of security that makes an appearance in this, and I think that she could be a pretty interesting character going forward. I mean, head of security for a company like Wayne Enterprises, you run into a lot of really nasty stuff when you're an organization like that. So, really good. Uh, Urban Legends number 2, and some really cool variant covers. This one may be so dark it's hard to see. That's the Red Hood.
Is that Matina?
I believe this is the Matina. And then I believe this is Art Germ or Derek Chew. This awesome katana variant.
Yeah, the new head of security who gets her first appearance in this, she's not just sitting back watching Wayne Enterprises security cameras. Like, she's dealing with Grifter directly.
Yeah.
Like, she's kind of Grifter's boss in it.
Yeah.
So I think we will be seeing more of her. And I've been saying it since they brought Grifter back. I really like what DC's been doing with Grifter. He's a lot better character than I ever knew.
Yeah.
And I think readers are going to really start
I'm really interested to see what they do with him, because he's very reckless. He does a lot.
Effective.
He's
very effective too, though.
And I want to see he does end up in the hospital.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because he'll jump through a moving truck's windshield and pop out the back of it and everything, and it's like, man, like what this guy's motivation is. Which is kind of explored in this back when he was on a different team back in the day. It's pretty cool to see, this guy is just nonstop. So really cool. Really glad that Grifter's getting a moment to shine.
Jim Lee's making it happen from the shadows. Okay, so I read Darkhawk, Heart of the Hawk. This is a one-shot because Marvel is just kind of getting everyone ready, because they're bringing back Darkhawk. That's what this kind of promises at the end. I'll just go ahead and say that. Wow. They are bringing back Darkhawk in some manner. It doesn't really say exactly how. So this is 3 stories in one. This book celebrates, I believe, the 30th anniversary since Darkhawk's creation. The first story was written by Darkhawk's original creator. And it was a really good story. He actually goes back to the early days of Darkhawk. He references things that happened in issue number 8, way back from 1990, whatever.
Search your dollar bins for that.
Yeah,
Darkhawk number 8.
Jokingly, in the annotations, it's like he says, it feels like just yesterday. But it is really cool. He draws from old Darkhawk stuff, but I didn't feel like I needed to have read that anytime soon. This is a very updated story, and I thought it was really quite good. I'm actually not aware if he writes a lot of comics or not anymore. I didn't do enough research to see that. So the first story is sort of just, here's the old days of Darkhawk, here's more on him, catch you up with who he is, what he's been up to, what he's been doing. The next story was written by Dan Abnett. And later on with Darkhawk, they didn't know what to do with him on Earth. They made him a cosmic character. They said his stone was an infinity stone. They made him very cosmic. So this is a story from that time. So Dan Abnett tells a little short story of him in a bar fighting the Brood. The third story might be the most noteworthy, though. The third story is set in the present. They just say now. And he is trying to hold back this great evil force from getting in the universe. And he's doing it all by himself, and he's been doing it for some indeterminate amount of time. And basically, he has to use his gem in a manner that might be where he loses it, but it might also maybe create a new Darkhawk. It's hell. It's a little bit of a mystery. So if you like Darkhawk, pick it up, read it, see what you think, see what you think's going to happen. But it is promised at the end, Darkhawk will return. So we got 2 variants here. We got the Daughterman variant. I really like. I mean, this is just 90s as it gets. Very cool. I read Darkhawk way back when they started. I had his first appearance and his number 1. I was reading it. And I always liked his design. I just think his character design is very strong. And then here is the Libera variant.
So how new reader friendly to Darkhawk is this? If you haven't read,
I think it's totally reader
that's
friendly.
good.
I really
Okay.
do. And so this would relate mostly to the second story, more cosmic. At points he's been sort of akin to the Nova Force, and
Yeah, that's what's funny is, for one, Dan Abnett wrote Guardians of the Galaxy for a
Mhm.
long
Oh
time
yeah,
with Andy Lanning, and that's kind of where I knew Darkhawk from, was the
uh,
more sci-fi space oriented character. So it'll be interesting reading this to be like, here's all the spectrum of who Darkhawk is and has been and everything.
yeah. I
'Cause,
missed that. I read definitely his '90s stuff where he's like bumping into Spider-Man.
yeah,
So
it's crazy, and I love that characters like that kind of have a second life now.
mm,
So next up is Non-Stop Spider-Man number 2. So we've made plenty of jokes about Non-Stop Spider-Man number 1, how it just does not stop,
doesn't
can't
look at that
stop.
cover. He's still not stopping.
It's still not stopping. I should have just thrown the comic. Sorry, you can't catch it. It's non-stop. Um, Not a whole lot to mention about the second issue. Uh, we kind of revealed in the end of the first issue who the big bad is in this, which is pretty apt to a certain Falcon Winter Soldier TV show that's on right now. So if you want, uh, well, I'll just say Baron Zemo is a big part of this, and if you want to read some cool stuff with him in it, this deals also with pretty heavy topics about substance abuse and other um, stuff that Spider-Man doesn't always tackle. But of course, there is a lot of nonstop action in this as well. There's some villains that are seem to be luchadors driving monster trucks. I mean, it's crazy. It's really good. Chris Bachalo's art is great and definitely gives that speed and the momentum of just Spider-Man going from page to page. The only thing I'll say is I'm still unsure why this book, why now. Um, what's the end goal? Usually books come out because they're either tie-ins or new number ones or whatever. But we already have quite a bit of Spider-Man, and I would be interested to see what, looking at this book as a whole, what it was trying to say or introduce or whatever. Um, or if it's just intended to be a fun ride, which it definitely could be, and if that's it, then it's doing a good job at it. Um,
I think Spider-Man, he's such a big character, like Batman,
mm,
where I think maybe Marvel, the way DC does, they're like, well, you got your this flavor Spider-Man, and then you got your that flavor Spider-Man.
yeah,
So because some people want more, and others go, well, I don't like that flavor. I need a different.
yeah,
So it might be something like that.
yeah. I definitely could see that because the current Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, is very story heavy,
Mm-hmm.
very lore heavy. This is definitely more Spider-Man swinging through buildings, kicking people in the face as he
Cracking
goes
wise.
by, cracking wise, all that kind of stuff. So really cool. I love this variant. Also very non-stop.
Yeah, that's awesome. Manga sort of
Yeah.
inspired.
And then we have this 1 in 25 Bachalo variant where you see
The monster truck.
the monster truck driven by the rascally luchadors. So really, really fun.
Okay, so I read Challenge of the Super Sons. This is a 7-part series. I enjoyed the past Super Son series, so I opted to grab this one and read it today. This has, I guess, I don't know if it'll come to anything, but some surprising first appearances. So it begins in the future. It begins with the
Mm-hmm.
Super Sons grown up. And so you got Damien and John Kent. They're fully grown up, and it seems they have children who are now interacting. So first appearance of their kids. Not a
Yeah.
lot of explanation though. you're just kind of there suddenly. It's more of a humorous thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like, oh, they're still at it,
Yeah.
verbal jabs even when they're older, and now their kids are going to be doing something. So it starts there, but it's actually sort of a story that the kids are reading about the dads when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of sets it up, then it takes you right back to the past.
Yeah.
And in this, there's another first appearance of this witch-like character who shows up and warns them about something called the Doom Scroll.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the Doom Scroll? If any of you have seen Death Note, it's a little bit like that. It is a scroll that shows the next hero who is going to die. And the witch tells them, look, she hasn't revealed exactly why, but you two can possibly stop it. That's your quest. So basically, I think all 7 issues are going to be them trying to save superheroes who don't know, but they're going to die. In this first one, it's Flash. Now that's a real problem. How do you save somebody who is the fastest man in the world?
Yeah.
He's not just standing around. He's already, stuff's happening. He's zipping around. So the Super Sons have to try to figure this out together. Meanwhile, they argue and bicker in that way that I enjoy, in a really fun way. I'll also say that there's a new vehicle that is revealed. It's not another Batmobile. It's something altogether different. In fact, it's not even Bat related at all. It's related to more the super side of thing, of the Super Sons. And so that's really fun and funny. But I think my favorite part of the book really is just seeing Damien and John, how they get along. Because they are friends, but they're the sort of friends who fight all the time.
Yeah.
But in a fun way. Like sometimes when that happens, you're like, oh, just, get over it. But they point out things about each other that are very revealing of their fathers.
Yeah.
Of Batman and Superman. And I think, that's a lot of what the writing is trying to do. So really cool first issue. We have a variant by, can you tell by the coloring? DeMio. Always doing those awesome colored variants. So first really got on my radar with we only find them when they're dead.
Yep.
And now just see these all over.
I know, now you can't unsee his art immediately when you open a book. Like Future State Harley Quinn was like, oh yeah, this is him.
Yep.
So next up, briefly touch on this. Aeropsyche, or Maria Lavette's Aeropsyche. This is I reviewed the first one on here a few weeks ago when number 1 came out. It's a very I don't want to say like strange. It is a very almost dreamlike book. Has a very there's an audience for this. It's really cool. The art is really good. Maria Lavette's art. It is let's see, what did I dreamy is another thing I think about with this book. It's all narrated by one of the characters, kind of telling the story of this school that is kind of witchcrafty, some weird stuff with students that go missing. Very mature, very almost European style storytelling, but very interesting, a very refreshing book to read. It's a pretty quick read, and I don't know, I really enjoy it just for the fact that it feels like a fresh cup of water, cold water after you're reading superhero stuff and all this lore stuff, and you get something like this, and it's like a palate cleanser.
It's that real true indie work.
Yes, for
stuff
sure.
Stuff that Marvel and DC would be like, we don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is definitely creator own, all from one mind type thing. But really, really cool, interesting book, and has some really killer variants as well.
Yeah, some really good.
So you got the Maria Lavette cover. I just feel like a cover like this where they're like laying in this field and like the background's all white and everything's kind of glowing. Very much what this book is like interior wise and story wise. We have, of course, this great homage cover, which I'm sure everyone can pick out. It's
that's awesome.
Pulp Fiction homage cover.
We will sell lots of that one.
Yes.
That's great.
And then we have some ratio variants as well. So we have the 1 in 10 that we're selling for only $10, which is just a virgin version of the A cover. Then we have...
I get a real shining feeling off of that.
Yeah.
Because they look twin-like, but just a little different with how they have their hair done up.
So this is actually the virgin version of the B cover, which we're already sold out of. But this is the 1 in 20 that we are selling to our customers for $20. This statue actually plays a kind of key part in this issue, where you learn why the title of the book is Aeropsyche, which is an old Greek myth. And, you know, like anything that has myths in it, it kind of reflects what's going on in the main series. Then we have the... This is the big one, the 1 in 30 version of the Pulp Fiction cover that we are selling for $40.
Okay, so I read Canto and the City of Giants #1. This is the third series for Canto. They keep doing miniseries. It's held its popularity. It's just really good. Really, just a colorful world. Canto is just a character you want to root for. It's really easy and fun to read it as well, I have to say. Like, if you haven't read the first two series, don't worry. You can jump in on this one. So it starts out with Kanto and his two friends, who are also sort of clockwork, mechanical people like he is. They are taking this witch to the City of Giants. This witch is very powerful, and they have to get rid of her in this proper way. Meanwhile, she is still mocking them, so it makes for a very colorful journey. And so they have to go to the City of Giants, where that's where they can finally dump her off. So they think. But there's more going on there. There's a lot of interesting just fantasy along the way. Like I couldn't really tell you what happens. It would take away the fun, but it's not stuff you've seen a million times before. That's what I would say. Whoever is behind Canto just has a really good, vivid imagination. It's sort of reminiscent of almost Jim Henson Labyrinth style, I would say, but different, but its own. I don't feel they were all trying to be that. That's the closest I can say, and that's a high compliment. I'm a really big Jim Henson fan. And speaking of Labyrinth, there might even be one towards the end of the issue, and there might even be one that they're headed into for next issue. So just really easy to enjoy and like Canto. So if that sounds good to you, I'll pick it up. I think you'll like it, and you'll be scrambling to get the trades of the previous series. We have the 1 in 10 variant for $15 for any of our customers who are interested in that.
Cool. I need to read all of Canto. It feels like, I remember when #1 came out, it was huge, like a big sleeper hit. But then it wasn't just a one-hit wonder. It continued, and it was like, here's a volume 2, and like it feels like when the creators went in for it, they're like, yeah, we have a big story to tell, that we are committed to, and we've got these little tie-ins, we got these other characters, and they're kind of building a whole Canto world that's really neat.
It's done really good through word of mouth. I mean, purely people reading it, just keep going. Every issue is good, and it's so different. So
yeah. So next up, this is real interesting. This is Rorschach.
I want to hear about this.
#7.
About this.
How much do I say about this without completely giving away what it is? So this is by Tom King, and it's interesting because we went into Rorschach with all of the preconceived notions of, it's a Watchmen follow-up. It's a Watchmen sequel. Oh, who's this Rorschach in it? I thought he was dead from Watchmen. All these things. What I give Tom King credit for is that is not the crux of the book. That would be too easy. to be like it's kind of a Watchmen sequel, or we're just doing this because of Doomsday Clock. This is actually has it's a story all its own that's actually about kind of the comic industry. Some names are thrown around in it that were real comic creators back in the day, and our main character, this Rorschach, may even have some ties to the comic community, which was real interesting. Some things were revealed about Rorschach, not just the one in this book, but the previous one.
Right.
Kind of all the Rorschachs. If there is, with all this, it's subject to new information. Is kind of how Watchmen always is. One thing, one thing until someone gives you information that completely flips on its head. But something that's revealed in here is, and I'm still wondering how much I should say, or a name, or whatever. But there is I'll say a key comic creator, a real world comic creator.
Who is still alive.
Who is still alive, currently, in the book and in real life.
And who might sue them over this.
That, we'll see. I imagine maybe they had to get permission. That actually makes an appearance in this, and not just a background like, oh, look, there's so-and-so. Is actually a key part of the story. What I think is really funny about this, too, is Watchmen's always been this alternate timeline. Rather than kind of DC's alternate universes or whatever, this is an alternate timeline. And one of the really funny things about it is superhero comics didn't catch on, but pirate comics did. Which is kind of a play off of the Black Freighter in the original Watchmen. But there's even a page in this that is an homage to the first appearance of Spider-Man, which is really fun, but pirate themed. There is this universe's version of The Dark Knight Returns, but it's pirate themed. There's something about that is just so much fun. But all that does is not just a fun nod. It really ties in with kind of the reveal in this. And I don't know. I was seeing a lot of people saying like, this is a thing that can be done once. Anybody else who tries to pull off I don't want to call it a stunt, but this move that this book pulls off will be compared to this, or oh, that's what Rorschach did, or that's what Tom King did in Rorschach number 7. But it's done very well. Tom King is a very unique voice in the comic world. His stories are very unique. He's not a very traditional writer, even when he did Batman and everything. It was very all his own voice, and I feel like that voice is the only one that could pull this move off in this one by having a real world comic creator in this of this caliber. So, I mean, I imagine quite a few people who aren't reading Rorschach will be picking this issue up because of this. I don't know if this is a spec book.
Right.
It's more of a I don't know, one of the things that will be talked about for no other reason than like, wow, they did this, and isn't this interesting, and what does this mean, and all of that, very dissected. So if you're a fan of comics and the comics medium and what makes comics what they are and everything, I recommend this, and I'll be very interested to read this also when it comes to reading as a whole, seeing if you can pick up on some of these clues and everything. So that is Rorschach number 7. If I didn't dangle the carrot,
articles are being written about.
Articles are being written
now.
about it. So it's not hard to find spoilers. But if this is your first place hearing about it, I didn't want to be the one to say, "Hey, here's the book. Look at it." It also has a really nice variant cover.
Okay, so another one I read this week is Children of the Atom number 2. I think there was a lot of talk about what this book was going to be before it ever came out. Then number one dropped, and I don't think it was what most people thought it was going to be.
People already had written it off in their heads, or
Yeah.
they'd already made their mind up about it.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people who've come through the shop who haven't read number one, and they've been like, "Oh, all the characters, they're just all into things that young people are into. They're into their blog, all that." Maybe they rewrote it because there was a long gap between when they solicited it and when it came out, but I don't get any of that from it so far. It is weird that they all look like the X-Men, but that's some of the mystery of the book. Like, why are they doing this? Who are they? Are they even mutants for real? It is not kind of yet revealed as far as this number two yet, but number two was a really good read. It takes a real deep dive into just one of the teammates, and I like that. The teammate, his name is Gabriel, or on the team he is Cherub, so he's kind of their angel or archangel character. And it takes a look at his life, his family life, what he thinks in the background as people talk to him, the different ways he's treated, the different expectations different people have. I thought the writing was really cleverly done. It's not a pure superhero book, it's a little bit of a thinking book, but there's plenty of superheroics in it that I'll get to later in the description. So it has a lot to do with having a friend group that kind of gets you. You know, they're not at all the same, but they can all be honest with each other. They all have like different problems. And all we get, I think if they tried to tell all their life stories in this one issue, it'd have been too much. So instead, they picked one character to represent here's his problems and here's why he kind of needs this friend group where he can, speak a little more freely. And they all unified because they all saw that in the X-Men. They love how the original X-Men team was a group of outsiders who came together and became a group, but also friends, and hold each other up. And I know that sounds touchy feely. It's really not that touchy feely either. They tell it in a way that I thought was relatable. I think everyone would like a group of friends who are a little bit like minded. And I think them emulating the X-Men, I think that's kind of cool. In fact, their names, a lot of people made fun of their names. They bring that up. It's acknowledged. Apparently, one of them kind of came up with the names quickly, and a lot of the team does not actually like the names. So that's kind of funny. In fact, one of the characters renames himself, and it's pretty funny what they rename themselves in this. So, but there is a lot of action in it. So after you get to learn about this character, learn about the group, they do go back into action, and they're really trying to be like a hero team. They're trying to beat the to where villains are and such. And I have to say, it doesn't go that well for them in this one. They kind of get their butts kicked, which I thought was good. I didn't want them to just be oh, we're just winners.
Yeah.
But there's still the mystery as to who they are. You have the X-Men, particularly Storm, looking into them, trying to figure out what is going on. You even have some major characters showing up concerned about this group, like Captain America and a few others head over to Krakoa, and they're like, man, this group, they're in the news, and there's this law, the what's happening in Champions, where young people cannot be doing superheroics.
Yeah.
There's a problem with this. So this book acknowledges what's going on. A lot of other books, including Champions, but where it leaves off is the promise of their origin. Next issue, it's definitely going to show. And there are some hints in this one. There are some things, if this is a spoiler show, I would tell you my theories. But I do think a few things were given away in this book on purpose, but you have to read between the lines. So that's my review for Children of the Atom number 2. I'm enjoying the read. I think it's cool. I have no trouble with these characters tumbling. It's like I don't tell somebody who likes Barry Allen, oh, you like Barry Allen. Well, he's just playing off of the Golden Age Flash.
Yeah.
How dare you? I think that is all built into this. I don't know if any of them are going to stick around in the way that they are. I don't think they will. So here is the Todd Nuck variant of Cyclops Lass, who definitely has her name made fun of in this, rightfully so, who might even be the person who came up with their ridiculous names. And there we have a 1 in 25 Henderson variant. We are selling for, what's that price? $20 to anybody who buys from us. Got some Sentinel action going on. This does not happen in the book. I'll go ahead and say that. Maybe in issue 3 through 5 or something, but
Yeah, I think the only way a book like that really works, where you have these very close amalgamations or,
yeah,
parodies or whatever you want to call them, analogs, is that they know it.
Mm-hmm.
And they know their names are goofy, and they know their costumes are, knockoffs of these other ones. That's when it works the best, is they're completely self-aware of who they are and what they're doing. And I like that.
They definitely do that, and the writing's not sloppy in this book either.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, wow, is this somebody's first comic? The writing is quite good in my opinion. There's also a second print of number 1, if you missed number 1, that is out, and it features one of the characters. Her name is Gimmick, which I laughed about when the first one came out. So
I wonder if we're going to get that moment where they all stand in a line and they all shake hands with the versions.
with whoever.
Yeah.
It's not feeling like that, but maybe by the end.
Yeah, I just, Gimmick and Gambit meeting could be really funny. They could play cards.
He can teach her the word for gimmick in French.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's see. Next up, just briefly talk about this. Always want to mention something Star Wars, but this is really cool. This is Star Wars Bounty Hunters. This is number 11. Great cover. And this is actually kind of a standalone issue that follows Bosk, one of the coolest bounty hunters, on kind of a solo mission. I think this is important too, because we're getting very close to this bounty hunter, War of the Bounty Hunters story.
War of the Bounty Hunters.
That's going to involve all of these characters. So I don't think it's out of nowhere that they are spotlighting Bosk here. And I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more fleshing out of these characters going forward. So really great art, really just, I love Bosk, I love all the bounty hunters, and it's cool that maybe we're taking a little side trip away from Valence, who does appear in this just briefly, but to kind of explore some of the other bounty hunters that are in it. There's also a really cool variant cover. We're getting close to finishing watching Empire Strikes Back, because we're at one of the final scenes of the duel with Luke and Vader. I imagine one of the next ones is going to be Luke clutching his hand, or what was left of his hand, screaming, that isn't true, that's impossible. So, really cool, and we know we've got that book coming out that's going to be collecting all of these variant covers in one.
And I'm still betting that eventually they're going to have just the credits.
Yeah.
And just tons of them.
Yeah.
Just month after month of the credits.
By, oh, that's the effects one. Oh, we've got
the key grip, the best boy.
That'll be great. Can't wait for those credits variants.
Okay, so I read Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries #1. So this is it's funny you say that. I was going to talk about that. So this is #1 of a 12-issue maxi series, and it is very playful, as you would expect. In fact, they phonetically write out how Scooby speaks, which, that's tough to do, but we all know Scooby.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the word paradoxes begins not with a P but an RH. Raradoxes.
The writer's sitting there, like, staring in the mirror, being like, okay, how do I do this? Okay, how is that spelled?
Yeah. Maybe watching some old Scooby-Doo with the subtitles on, where someone else had to do that already, and picking up on the things. So this is, if you watched old Scooby-Doo, I grew up on old Scooby-Doo reruns, he would meet Batman. That's what this is. If you think that's cool, or you want to give it to a kid so they can have kind of the same experience as you did, it is definitely that. There are some inside jokes that are a little bit more adult, but it is still ultimately a very PG, safe thing. So in this one, which is a self-contained one-shot, I think they all will be, Batman comes to the gang because there's this Batman museum, and they have all his outfits from over the years. So, it's like the first Batman outfit all the way, he's had a lot of changes. And he says that his gloves, the original Batman is drawn with the purple gloves.
Purple gloves.
Yeah, he has purple gloves. If you don't know this, look it up. It's amusing. He says somebody has stolen his purple gloves and replaced it with some fake ones. So they're all like, "Well, how do we know? How can we help you, Batman?" He's like, "Well, if you," he splits the team. He goes, "Some of you will help me here, but some of you through hypnosis, they do time travel hypnosis."
Oh,
Which
okay.
sounds right out of Scooby-Doo. They do time travel hypnosis. They go back to the early days of Batman, where he doesn't know them. He has the purple gloves. So if you ever wanted to see that version of Batman, it's in this. They do meet that version of Batman. So it's very fun, very funny. The mystery is solved by the end. So I think these are all going to be one
It
shots.
was Old Man Jenkins, right?
Not in this one. I think
Oh
he's going to
man.
be the ultimate villain of issue number 12.
Okay,
He
yeah.
might have the cameo at the end of 11, though. So there's not a variant to it, or we didn't get the variant to it.
I
I'm
don't
not
think there
sure.
was one.
So that's my review of that. Fun book.
I mean, it's always good, and the price. The price is actually $1 cheaper than your average book, right?
I
It
didn't even
is.
notice that.
It is. Look at me. It is $2.99.
Wow.
So
Trying to let kids
I think
buy
that's
some
great. A
books
kid can
here.
come in here with $3 and get it.
That would be my bet.
It's very
Yes.
accessible. Okay, so next talk about one that kind of blew up for us. I think we kind of knew it would, but then after talking about the
Yeah.
last, more and more people added it. So we are currently sold out. This is Proctor Valley Road #2. Of course, this is the book by Grant Morrison and Alex Child, set in the I can't remember if it's 60s or 70s. I believe it's the
70s.
70s, where in California there's this road that a lot of like urban legends and stuff about weird stuff was seen on it and everything. And this follows a group of friends who are kind of troublemakers, who decide that they wanted to make a little extra cash to go see a Janis Joplin concert by giving people tours of this road. Well, something horrible happened to the first people they took on the tour of the road. And so now this picks up right afterwards, where these girls are getting interrogated by the police about, do you know what happened to these boys that went missing and everything. Definitely is it's a certain, if you know Grant Morrison, there's different aspects of Grant Morrison. There's the weird like multiverse version of Grant Morrison that he does with books like his Green Lantern, with Multiversity, Final Crisis. This is like the Grant Morrison that's super into classic rock, that kind of nostalgia feel of like Americana during that time with rock stars and all of that he was really into when he was younger. So this is a little bit Stranger Things, a little bit supernatural, but really cool. So something happens. The girls may take some form of psychedelic, and some letters appear on them. And when they put together, it spells a name, which is actually kind of funny. And we come to find out that there is, let's say, the weird character we saw on issue 1 on the Peach Momoko variant cover, this weird, almost hag-looking thing. We learn who that character is through some of these clues and all of that. So really cool second issue. I mean, you can tell this is written by a comics pro who knows the craft of character and crafting a well thought out story. So
and it's already optioned even
and
before
it's already
the one came out.
Yes, we don't know how that happened, but it happened. So that is.
Yeah, Morrison just hadn't done an indie in a while. I think they were just waiting for him to do something create around.
So there's also a B cover, the Wild Goose variant cover. Actually, some of ours got damaged, so I don't have any of those right here. But then we have the 1 in 10 variant that we have for $15, which is cool. There's that road. Creepy road. And then we have the 1 per store variant for $20, which is just the virgin version of that 1 in 10.
All right, so two indie books I kind of quickly looked through today. The first is by Scout Comics. It is called Locust. It is a post-apocalyptic book. You can tell by the cover. The cover definitely displays that really well. And there was some sort of disease that has wiped out most of humanity, and people are still very worried about diseases. I think it's something that everybody can kind of understand right now.
Yeah.
And it follows along sort of a character. He's a bit of a soldier now in this new world, but people aren't just people. Like, I mean, some people have changed. There are some monstrous type people in this book that I saw. And the other one I wanted to talk about is the new one from Image. It is called Home. It is about a kid and his mother. They're immigrants trying to enter the U.S. and they get detained. And due to stress and possibly other factors, it turns out the kid has superpowers that were dormant in him, which he uses to try to help them escape. There is a variant cover for that as well.
So many books this week. So next up, we have Wonder Woman issue 771. Not a ton to say about this one because I mean we're getting into the story. We talked about number one, but this is where Wonder Woman, after the events of Infinite Frontier, has come into the Norse mythology world, which is kind of the stomping ground for the other big publisher. But it's cool to see DC's version of Norse mythology with Thor and some of the Asgardian gods. And in this, Wonder Woman is trying to locate her friend Siegfried.
Yeah.
And also trying to save the World Tree, Yggdrasil, which I think is interesting because Wonder Woman, although it seemed almost like her choice a little bit in Infinite Frontier to go here and all this, she's kind of unaware of that she doesn't completely belong. And this starts, I don't know if it starts teasing, but a character from her other universe or whatever does make an appearance, and it kind of throws things a little off, which is a very funny character, especially if you've seen the Harley Quinn animated series. So this one's really cool. There is a backup story about young Wonder Woman. The art is really pretty on it. So really fun book. I'm sure we'll have more to say once some of these mysteries of this start getting revealed. I feel like this is a pretty key book to the future, considering how big of a character Wonder Woman was set up to be in Infinite Frontier, and now in this. She's kind of the new, I don't want to say the new Superman, but like kind of the new linchpin for the multiverse. And you have this beautiful variant cover.
Yeah, that's a wonderful variant.
I mean, and one of the notes, yes. So one of the notes I took about this series is, it says a lot of the character of Wonder Woman, that you can take her out of her element, put her in this other one, and she still works just as well. It's like how Batman works when you take him out and you put him in you could put him in Metropolis, you could put him in
England.
You can do all these things, but the character is so strong that they're not defined by their surroundings, they're defined by their character. And I think that is how this Wonder Woman series is, where her character transcends, in this case, mythologies, and still works in so many ways.
So I'm going to talk about Thor number 14 by Donnie Cates.
I have a lot of questions about this one.
This is the finale of the 6-part Prey series that he is doing, where Donald Blake is back and he is angry. Donald Blake, of course, was created by Odin to be sort of an alternate Thor identity, and he'd strike his stick and when he wasn't Thor, he would be stuck in some land, and he's been stuck there for ages. I mean, this is something Donny Cates really drew from a really old idea in bringing Donald Blake back. So Donald Blake has been killing anyone who has ever been a Thor and absorbing their energy. But they've banded together in the last issue. They got him in a position where it's sort of last stand battle. So you got in the one corner Donald Blake, who is super powered up, and in the other corner you have Thor, who is now in the destroyer armor, which we've not seen in some time. So of course there's that showdown. Odin is there again. Odin is back, and he wants Blake dead. But is Thor going to allow that? Is Thor going to kill him? What are they going to do with him? Even if they can subdue him, what to do with him now? The stick is broken. They can't really send him back. Plus now they know his grievance, which is, you had me trapped in this realm forever. So it's a real conundrum, if they can even beat him, about what to do with him. The other thing I'll say is, how does Loki figure into the ending of this? Maybe he has a solution, and maybe it's a pretty messed up solution. You'll just have to read the end yourself. So we got two variants on this that I'm going to show off. We have the Heroes Reborn variant. You see regular Thor in the background, and then you see the Heroes Reborn version. As stated, I got to read an advanced copy, and Thor is in it a pretty good bit. And we also are selling to our customers the 1 in 25 Klein variant.
It's a great one.
$20. Yeah, you have Donald Blake wielding his axe on the Rainbow Bridge. Lots of dead people around him. How do you deal with a character like this? He's done some very nasty things, but it's because nasty things were done to him. So, real moral conundrum.
I'm very interested in, one, is Donald Blake redeemable in any way? Because he's, like you said, he's done some pretty horrible things. But also, do you feel like they set up what's coming next for Thor in this?
To tell you the truth, no. This has a very satisfying ending, but what's coming up next for Thor, I couldn't even guess. In fact, if anything, there's sort of a major shift with Loki. So
that's a character that Donny Cates hasn't really done too much with, who's very big in the Thor mythos. That I feel like maybe we'll start getting a lot of Loki stuff coming up. But how do you feel like this compared with the Black Winter storyline?
Just different. Really, really different. I think this might have landed the ending better, is what I would say. But Black Winter was such a build-up of a new major villain that I hope we see again. That was just really thrilling. With this, with Donald Blake, it was like, I felt like Black Winter could really tear apart the Marvel Universe. Donald Blake, yeah, he's going to do some damage, but he just isn't as...
Yeah, it's more a personal story.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, now I have one of my last books, Superman. This is issue number 30. And this is kind of the first... I know we had the one Philip Kennedy Johnson issue before this with Superman Action Comics, but those two issues were very tied together. They were the same artist. Phil Hester did the art for those two issues. They were kind of setting the groundwork for what's to come. Some books similar would have made that a 2-issue miniseries or something. So I feel like this is the first issue really going forward of the new creative team on Superman. And it is really interesting because, so Bendis, during his run, he separated the family in a way that was, to some people, very uncomfortable. Just Clark's relationship with Lois and relationship with Jonathan, where he, went into the future to become a member of the Legion of Superheroes. I'll say what this issue does right off the bat, with a thrilling game of putt-putt with the Kent family, is really reestablish the family as a family. And even though Jonathan is older, he's still their kid, and that I think that's where the current iteration of Superman really shines, is because he's been around so long. Him being a father figure is a very natural step for him. and I really like when they focus on that. This also introduces maybe a new villain. There's been a lot of new villains in Superman, so whether it's going to be a huge thing or not, I don't know. But it's more than anything, I feel like this series is starting to explore Clark setting up the future for Jonathan to become the next Superman, which we know is going to happen if the events in Future State unfold. And you definitely get that, like, they go to the planet and Superman lets Jonathan take the lead, um, to kind of be like, you're going to be doing this in the future. You need to step up and start learning how to deal with different alien races and everything. So I think it's really good. It's kind of an easy opening for a series. It doesn't, it's not a big bang of an opening thing, but I think its real job is reestablishing the family and establishing Superman's relationship with Superboy going forward. There is a really nice Inhyuk Lee variant for this. You can definitely see they're really capitalizing on that, the father son in this series.
Yeah, they've also been setting up Superman like something's going to happen to him, like his
Yeah.
powers are going to be lessened. They predicted his death. Like,
Yeah, it feels like these are the early rumblings of a big story to come, which they've already said is coming. There's going to be a big story, um, by this creative team down the line, and you can already see that. Like, this Superman is feeling older. He's feeling, a little bit more tired, or a little bit more, I don't know, like you were saying in the Batman one, where it's like, a little bit more sore after I get done fighting a giant monster or something. So I think that's cool.
all right, so the last book I have to talk about today is a very easy sell to those of you who would like what it's about. This is Fantastic Four number 30, but this is one of the last books that links in with King in Black. Also out this week is King in Black Namor number 5, just so you know. I don't have that on here to review, but it is available hopefully at whatever store you shop at. But this book was a really cool read, and I'll tell you why. It is, as you can see on the cover, you got a nullified Ben Grimm the Thing. So the elevator pitch is simple. It is nullified the Thing and Human Torch going up against non-nullified, just regular, Reed Richards and Susan Storm. That is what it is. And when you get nullified, you don't just turn into a zombie. You still have your thoughts, you still have your feelings. They've all just been turned angry and twisted. So they bring up every dirty thing from the past. They throw so much mean stuff up against Reed and Susan. It was, it was pretty shocking. This was not a throwaway issue. It was a very good read. It was really cool to see them fight with their full powers. They're trying to kill them. Think about it. That's what it is. It's a Fantastic Four death match.
Yeah.
Can Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman go up against the Thing and Human Torch? That sounds pretty tough, honestly.
Yeah.
And they explore that while trying not to, go too far, because the one side's trying to kill the other side is not. And I have to say, it gets resolved by the end, but not because of what they do. They don't battle them to a standstill and inject them with something that cures them. They don't get cured until King in Black is over. It actually goes to the future. It's like, they have their thing happen, and
so this is pre-King in Black.
Pre-King in Black number 5, most of it is, and then the last little bit is post.
Okay.
The last little bit is days later after Null was defeated, and they have to, have breakfast together and talk about what happened.
Awkward.
And all of the things that were said. It ultimately is very redeeming, though. So there's some real meanness, but it's really interesting, and you wonder how much of the things they're saying did they really feel? How much is this really rattling around in them? Plus, it's just cool fighting. I love seeing power sets really stretch to their limits. So good issue. If you're reading the King in Black stuff, I would grab it up. It's probably the last good thing related to King in Black that is out there or going to be out there.
Lastly, I have some second printings, some alternate printings, everything First off, we have Amazing Spider-Man 61, which is a beautiful cover with a really good shot of Spider-Man's new suit.
He might as well be holding an Acme sign that says new costume.
I know. Yeah, so
With an arrow pointed right at it.
that is Amazing Spider-Man 61. We have, which we sold out of this, and so glad they got a second printing of it. This is Infinite Frontier #0, the big thing that kicked off all the DC stuff, post Future State, a lot of the stuff we still haven't seen yet that's going to come out of this, that's just rumored. So if you haven't picked this up, you can get the printing. I strongly suggest you get this one.
You must not have been watching the show because we both read it 2 times a piece and we're still telling each other things we missed. There's a lot to catch in this, and it's all cool and it's all relevant to stuff that's happening or about to happen.
Yeah, and this cover is a big part of this issue. So it's cool that they're highlighting that on the cover.
Yeah, several first appearances. I mean, that was a big book. I knew it was going to be.
Yeah, stuff like we were talking about with Wonder Woman is set up in that book.
And there's going to be Infinite Frontier #1, so another one following it. I believe that comes out in July.
Yes. And lastly, we have Batman Black and White #3, the second printing, and really cool because this issue had a story in it with the next Batman, the Future State Batman, and introduced his new sidekick, who we now have featured on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
So really, really cool that they've kind of given you a special cover just for that story that's on the inside and everything. This is going to be an important story going forward as we still continue to get stories about the new Batman.
Okay, I think that's our show for the week. A lot of comics to talk about.
It was.
We said it at the beginning, and we're going to wrap things up quick today because we got to get back out in our shop.
I know.
All right, thank you all for tuning in, whether you watch us on Facebook or on YouTube. I think we're somewhere between 750 and 800 subscribers. Thank you very much. We also do a show every Friday called Comics from the Future, where we go over all the comics that are still open order for the week. It is your chance to hear about new ones if you want to order one or multiples of it, where you can still get it for any old price. Won't be sold out. Please join us for that.
Some big books this week that you'll definitely want to check out. Even a big Fantastic Four book, big Fantastic Four stuff happening that you'll want to tune in and hear us talk about. Yep. Doom's getting married. So there's your teaser.
There you go. All right, well, thank you all very much, and we will see you next time. Put up some order details just in case.